The Life of Albedo, Overlord. Albedo is the overseer of the Guardians of the Great Tomb of Nazarick. She is in charge of the general management and supervision of the activities done by the 7th-floor Guardians, meaning that she ranks above the other NPCs in Nazarick. She is the middle sister of the older sister Nigredo and younger sister Rubedo. Along with her sisters, she was created by Tabula Smaragdina. Welcome to the Amagi. In today's video, we're going over the life of Albedo. Before we begin, we publish a new video every day, so be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. The Amagi's reach stretches beyond just this channel, so if you're a fan of us, please consider subscribing to our other channels and following us on all our social media. Help us reach our goal of passing 100,000 followers on all of our accounts by the end of the year. And with that out of the way, let's get into the video. Background. Albedo and her sisters were created by Tabula Smaragdina. She was originally programmed to prefer frequent sexual activity, but Momonga altered her personality and changed her setting to be madly in love with him instead. As the Guardian Overseer of Nazarick, she has to keep in mind where every floor guardian is at all times. The Undead King Arc. Moments before Yggdrasil is expected to shut down, Momonga changed Albedo's character information to be in love with him as a joke. Albedo is the first NPC to speak to Momonga when the Great Tomb of Nazarick is transported to the New World. Confused at Momonga's strange behavior, Albedo asks him if there's anything wrong and whether he requires anything of her. She apologizes to Ainz for not meeting his expectation, such as her own inability to answer the latter's questions about the GM call he spoke of. Under Momonga's order, Albedo is experimented upon by her master to see what changes had been done to the NPC after the end of Yggdrasil, when she became sentient. Albedo is ordered by Momonga to assemble the floor guardians, except for Victim and Gargantua at the 6th floor amphitheater. She and Demiurge are the last floor guardians to arrive. She and the other floor guardians introduce themselves and pledge their absolute loyalty to Momonga. Representing the Guardians, she goes on to offer several statements of respect to Momonga before personally describing the love she has for his greatness in her own words. She informs Momonga about the exchange of security information between the Guardians of the various floors and how everyone can share information with Nazarick's defense commander Demiurge. She is ordered by Momonga to work together with Demiurge in drawing up a more comprehensive administrative system for managing the Great Tomb of Nazarick, barring the 8th floor. After the meeting is over and Momonga leaves the amphitheater, she and the floor guardians discuss their impression of their master's despair aura that they felt while in his presence. Although she is envious at first by how Aura states that Momonga is kind to her and her brother Mar, Albedo lets go of the jealousy and expresses honor and fondness for what their master has shown them. Before allowing the butler to return to their master's side, Albedo tells Sebastian to call her immediately if Momonga asks for her summons, which she will promptly obey in the event that it happens. Seeing Shaltir Bloodfallen wetting herself after feeling Momonga's presence, she scorns and belittles the vampire's behavior as sluttish. Shortly thereafter, she gets caught into a catfight with Shaltir Bloodfallen, throwing harsh slurs at each other and quarreling about who is worthy of becoming Momonga's first wife. She puts her argument with Shaltir on hold when it is time for her to issue orders which floor guardians like themselves have to carry out. Later, she comes across the evil lord without Demiurge present alongside them. Suspicious of his whereabouts, Albedo inquires Demiurge's servants where his demon is at and who he is with. She is angered by the fact that the evil lords are trying to deceive her with false information of there being a dark warrior among Nazarick's lowly servants who accompanies Demiurge. Upon threatening them to spill the beans, she learns that the Dark Warrior is none other than their master Momonga, much to her shock. Albedo is convinced by the Lord Evil Envy to not take a bath and change her clothes whatsoever, as it will be enough to appeal to Momonga that she has been working very hard. She parts ways with them soon after to chase down Momonga and Demiurge. She confronts Demiurge at some point during her searching and is brought along to where Momonga is at with Mar Bellofiore. She reasons with Mar why Momonga is wearing armor is so that their master can silently conceal his identity because he does not wish to disturb the others at work. Albedo explains to Mar that Momonga's disguise as a dark warrior is to prevent others like themselves from ceasing in their labors. She elaborates that if Mar was to find out that the Dark Warrior is his master all along, he will stop working to pay their respect to him afterward. Due to her duty in the tomb as the Guardian Overseer, she is given the ring of Ainz ul Gon by Momonga to help with navigating around Nazarick. Albedo is informed by Sebas that she is to be by Momonga's side fully equipped, with the exception of her world item, Ginungagap. As a result, Albedo accompanies Momonga to save Karne village and stop the Sunlight Scripture who arrive to attack it. She is ordered not to kill any innocent humans like Enri Emot and Nimu Emot, as their objective in the first place is to prevent such harm from happening and to rescue them from danger initiated by the Sunlight Scripture. During the fight, she dislikes seeing her beloved Ainz get disrespected and hurt by the enemy's attacks, and sometimes intervenes if the situation spirals out of control. Along the way, she becomes the first to learn and acknowledge Momonga's new identity that he will go by from now on, which is Ainz ul Gon. After the fight with Sunlight Scripture, she and Ainz return to Nazarick with the Sunlight Scripture members they have captured being brought to the frozen prison for interrogation. She even learns from Ainz why he has chosen to spare the humans in Karne village and leave Gazef Stronov alive for supposed reasons that get the Overseer to believe that they have some uses in the end. Upon returning back to the tomb, Albedo and other Floor Guardians prepare for their own future plan of taking over the new world for Ainz. Besides that, she works on her latest task of collecting enemy corpses lying on the battlefield outside Nazarick that they have killed to prepare for the creation of permanent undead minions. She also collects their items to be sent off to Nazarick's treasury for further investigation. Although Ainz feels guilty of changing the Overseer's character setting, Albedo reassures him not to fret over it, as she's fine with whatever modifications he had done to her. She has no intention of returning to her old original self, telling her master that her creator Tabula Smaragdina will approve of his action while giving herself away for marriage to Ainz. The Emissary of the King Arc. Albedo is visited by Ainz, who is taking a survey on his subjects' relationships and desires. Being the last on his list, Ainz realizes that she has been living in the throne room since her creation. He resolves to give Albedo a room of her own, despite Albedo believing her place is in the throne room. She quickly accepts, thinking that she will be staying in Ainz's room, but she has declined. Ainz grants her a room on the 9th floor as she gathers her belongings from a hidden wall in the chamber. She shows an embarrassed Ainz that it contains lingerie that had been given to her by Tabula. In her new room, Albedo takes out the flag of Ainz ul Gon and begins desecrating it, cursing it and them for taking her lover's name. The Guardian's Vacation Arc. Albedo is given the order to restrict the creation of new magic scrolls in Nazarick while also making sure to minimize their uses as well. Along the way, she has to try and find new materials in the new world that Nazarick can substitute from Yggdrasil. Seeing how restless Ainz is working, she suggests that her master take some time off and rest by having a break. When Ainz suggests that the Guardians take a vacation, Albedo is deeply agonized at the thought of having to lose one whole day just for break time without work suggested by their master. Albedo frantically admits that if someone as herself can't be allowed to serve as Ainz for such a long period of time, she'd much rather be tortured by Neuronist Painkill instead. Albedo even goes as far as to say that she will accompany Ainz and stay by his side at all times. Seeing this, Albedo is ordered by Ainz to calm down, insisting she and the other Guardians need to take daily rests from now on. While on her walk to the meeting room, she spots a stain within her line of sight and vows to tell Eclair Eichler to clean it up later. Spending her time with the Guardians in private, Albedo evaluates the result of the health examination for Ainz being estimated between yellow to red. She recalls her previous discussion with them where they agreed black represents darkness, concluding the meeting of this color to be the result of an unknown spell or curse related to darkness that has an effect on Ainz. However, upon looking at the current result of the health exam, she sees it to be in the almost all yellow, presuming that it has something to do with paralysis among the bad status effects. She laments at her powerlessness to support Ainz during his hour of need, remembering how he made mention of a GM call to her, much to her own ignorance. She informs everyone that if they continue receiving their master's kindness, Guardians like themselves, including her, will be nothing more than failures in the end. She promises the Guardians that they must show Ainz the value of their existence to him by devoting themselves to their master's orders from here on out. The Dark Warrior Arc. In Ainz's office, Albedo is present to give her master different reports of involving Nazarick's advancements and missions within the New World. When Shaltir receives an audience with Ainz, Albedo tells the vampire that she should leave as she and Ainz are currently focusing on important work like deciding the future of Nazarick. This later escalates into another catfight between Albedo and Shaltir until Ainz orders them to refrain from such action in front of him. When Ainz departs from Nazarick with Narborough Gamma as his partner in Erantal, she, unlike most of the other Guardians, objects to his decision the most strenuously. Although she's frustrated at not being able to accompany her master on his journey, Albedo is convinced by Demiurge to leave their master be when he suggests that Guardian Overseer be a good wife and wait for her husband at home and mind the house in his absence. Hearing this, she decides to stop resisting Ainz's decision and instead act like a wife and stand over her master's room while waiting for his return to Nazarick. In the meantime, she discusses with Eclair about his duties on the 9th floor of Nazarick since Sebas is absent from the tomb. Once Eclair is gone, she starts enveloping Ainz's bed with her fragrance before she heads to her room. She even pretends to talk with an Ainz Dakimakura that looks like her master, much to Demiurge's disbelief. Albedo tells Demiurge that she has not only made this body pillow, but also clothes and socks for Ainz's future child as well, welcoming any kind of gender the baby will end up being. With Demiurge preparing to set off for Nazarick, Albedo is informed about his departure beforehand. She has already made preparations for Nazarick's defenses in the event that an emergency arises within the tomb. Prior to him leaving, she discusses with Demiurge about the ways and rules that he has been conducting with his healing experiments. As NPCs are created by the 41 Supreme Beings to remain loyal to their creators, she is disturbed to see that the human captives trapped in Nazarick will go to great lengths in betraying their own masters to ensure their own survival. While Ainz is away gathering more information as an adventurer at Erantal, Albedo is left in charge of managing Nazarick. Albedo is seen lying naked in Ainz's bedroom when Narborough contacts her, updating the Guardian Overseer on their master's status of what he is doing as an adventurer. She is informed by Narborough about how Ainz states that there is nobody else in Nazarick who he can trust apart from her with the task of overseeing the tomb in his place. She is seeking to better understand where her relationship with Ainz is at by using Narborough to relay news to her of what their master thinks of the Overseer. She learns that 3 members of the Pleiades, particularly Narborough Gamma, Yuri Alpha, and Lupus Regina Beta, are supportive of their intimate relationship. Hearing this, she orders Narborough to quickly win over Entoma Vasilisa Zeta, CZ2128 Delta, and Solution Epsilon to her side instead of Shaltir. Albedo is appalled when she hears that Narborough is sharing a room with Ainz to the point that she fusses about it, much to her master's annoyance. When Ainz contacts the Overseer, Albedo immediately informs her master that Shaltir Bloodfallen has betrayed Nazarick. The Bloody Valkyrie Arc. After Albedo informs Ainz that Shaltir has rebelled, she accompanies him to visit Nigredo to the throne room. During their walk together there, she answers her master's questions, one of which being how only Shaltir has betrayed them, but Sebas did not. She learns from Sebas that he and Shaltir parted ways after they encountered a group of bandits, leaving the vampire to take down the bandits' hideout before her betrayal of Nazarick happened after. Albedo deduces that Shaltir has rebelled against Nazarick solely because her name is written in black, which represents betrayal. She proposes to Ainz that they assemble a strike force immediately to deal with Shaltir, wishing to nominate herself as the commander of this expedition. Besides having already so many level 80 vassals that possess holy elemental attacks effective against undead prepared ahead of time, she requests that Ainz allow her to enlist Cocytus and Mar among her forces. She reasons with Ainz that there is no need to show mercy to a traitor like Shaltir, but the latter refutes her reasoning, stating that they need to find out why the vampire has chosen to betray them. When Ainz asks her of Shaltir's whereabouts, Albedo admits to not having it pinpointed yet, because she was focused on placing the vampire's direct subordinates under arrest. Afterwards, Albedo dispatches other vassals to reinforce the first floor of Nazarick in the event that Shaltir plots to attack the tomb. Equipped with Ainz's cape-like item to protect herself from the cold, she follows Ainz to the 5th floor, frozen prison, and tells Nigredo to locate Shaltir for them. While Ainz is discussing the Adventurers Guild, Albedo is tasked with sending several vassals to keep a close eye on Shaltir as her master handles tasks of negotiation with the organization. With her master gone, she briefly talks with Nigredo about Shaltir becoming a turncoat, and her older sister's distrust and hate towards Rubedo, who may one day bring calamity to Nazarick. Before heading with Ainz to Shaltyr's location, she and Mara are ordered to dispose of the adventurer team, Kralgra, who ignored their master's advice after his meeting with the Adventurers Guild came to an end. She has Mara send the corpses to the tomb for experimentation in creating undead. After the Wish Upon a Star spell fails to work on Shaltyr, Albedo is told by Ainz to retreat back to Nazarick. Albedo is then ordered to recall the Guardians from the outside world to Nazarick quickly. She and her master revisit the throne room to verify if any of the Guardians have ended up being mind-controlled like Shaltyr. Once that is done, Albedo accompanies Ainz to the treasury to get a world item. She encounters someone who she thinks is her creator, Tabula Smaragdina, but discovers that it isn't him and tries to threaten the shapeshifter to reveal its true form until her master stops the overseer in her tracks. Shortly thereafter, she is introduced to Pandora's Actor, Ainz's personal NPC creation and area guardian of Nazarick's treasury. Under Ainz's order, Albedo informs the vassals of Nazarick about Pandora's Actor. Later in the mausoleum, she tries to persuade Ainz to never leave or abandon Nazarick, kneeling down before her master pleadingly and crying emotionally. However, Albedo is reassured by Ainz that although he is fighting a one-on-one death battle with Shaltyr alone, he promises her that he will win and return to the tomb alive. Ainz orders Albedo to restrain anyone who tries to intervene in his fight with Shaltyr. With permission from Ainz, she is already temporarily taking control of the 7th floor and Demiurge's servants ahead of time until her master finishes his battle with Shaltyr. She restrains and tells Demiurge to have faith in their master, as Ainz has the conviction to emerge victorious against Shaltyr. She even wagers her own position as the Guardian Overseer against Demiurge, betting it on the match between Ainz and Shaltyr, where if their master loses, she will resign from that role. She tells Demiurge that when their master returns safely, the demon must yield to her in a similar situation if it arises. While watching her master's battle with Shaltyr turn to Ainz's advantages, Albedo can't help but be awed by his flawless strategy. Albedo notices how Shaltyr has no idea what other weapons Ainz possesses due to how many times their master has already switched between them unpredictably. Albedo deduces that under these circumstances where the vampire lacks further knowledge, she believes Shaltyr will regard running away to be a foolish option after seeing Ainz's bow. To reassure Demiurge, Albedo reasons that since Shaltyr ran out of skill and magic uses, all the vampire can do is close the distance with Ainz to the attack range of her Spewit Lance and fight on. As Ainz defeats and kills the vampire in combat, Albedo and the rest of the Guardians head back to the throne room where they await their master's return from the battlefield. Before the revival of Shaltyr, Albedo and the other floor Guardians beg Ainz to never do such a thing again and allow them to handle any future incidents that may come. After Shaltyr is resurrected, Albedo tells her master to be at ease as the vampire is no longer under mind control, advising Ainz to let her rest for the time being. On the behalf of the rest of the Guardians, Albedo also makes sure to rebuke Shaltyr for behaving in an unsightly manner without knowing about the sin that she has committed to Ainz. She suggests Ainz to reprimand Shaltyr with a stern punishment that is suitable for the former traitor. On the other hand, Albedo is then ordered to select a few clandestine operatives to keep an eye on Sebast and his surroundings, as the butler will be the bait to lure out the enemies responsible for Shaltyr's brainwashing. While doing so, she is given the order to lay a few scratches on Nigun's sealing crystal and have Nazarick's blacksmith repair the adventurer Mamon's armor as damaged and scorched so that they can create a cover-up story for the people of Erantle to believe. She informs Ainz that Aura has discovered a lizard man village, proposing to her master that they can use the demi-human corpses from there for their undead creation experiment rather than humans alone. The show must go on. Albedo sneaks into Ainz's chambers and overhears her master's lamentation of his acting skills. The Overseer believes it to be some sort of class he wishes to improve and organizes Nazarick's first theater production. She selects the play Romeo and Juliet and is intending to have the role of the latter while Ainz plays the former. Albedo intends to steal a kiss from Ainz, but her plan is discovered by Shaltyr, who brings it to the attention of Ainz. Demiurge also agrees that the selection of the female protagonist needs to be fair and organizes auditions for the role. Albedo, undeterred by the spoiling of her plan, attempts to bribe one of the judges, Aura, to vote for her. In the end, after both her and Shaltyr's performances, the two are disqualified after their bribery is brought to light. The Sealed Evil Tree Arc. Albedo, alongside the other floor guardians, is ordered to fight together against Zitalque and to secure the herb and to complete Ainz's adventure request from Pluton Ainzak. The Lizardman Heroes Arc. Once Ainz returns to the tomb, Albedo prepares Nazarick's intelligence briefing with him. She is given an unknown amount of money to fund various experiments, such as the summoning of monsters, and activate Nazarick's defense systems. At the same time, she has to use the New World's currency coins to make items, such as magic scrolls and so on. She is also ordered to duplicate the New World map Ainz has given her and distribute it to each guardian. While doing this, Albedo learns from Ainz about the various areas on the map after he explains it to her, with the latter telling the Overseer to be wary of all the locations surrounding Nazarick. She is refrained by her master from sending vassals outside the tomb for a reconnaissance mission in those places. Albedo informs Ainz of Shaltyr's mental state, where she is feeling intense guilt for raising her lance against him and not receiving any punishment for it. Hence, she suggests that Ainz punish Shaltyr, as it is the only way to help erase the vampire's guilt. Since Ainz is planning to head outside the tomb once again, Albedo reminds him to be careful and wary of the unknown perpetrator who mind-controlled Shaltyr with a world item. Before Ainz leaves Nazarick to complete his tasks as the adventurer Mamon, Albedo informs him that Kakaitis and Antoma are preparing to make contact with the Lizardman village. Under Ainz's order, she is instructed to help Ainz record the battle between the Lizardmen and the forces of Nazarick. At some point, Albedo carries out a plan to replenish the tomb's consumables, where they grow seeds of apples from the outside of Nazarick. After Kakaitis loses the war against the Lizardmen, she is present in the meeting with Ainz and fellow guardians, who talk about it and other subjects, including Demiurge's various experiments and the fate of Shaltyr's punishment. Albedo believes the meting out of appropriate punishment and reward is the way of the world, feeling that Shaltyr must still be punished, which the latter agrees on accepting. On the other hand, she is threateningly stern of Kakaitis' behavior towards Ainz and the request he made to her master before Ainz restrains the Overseer in her tracks. When the meeting concludes, Albedo is ordered to prepare the tomb's troops, dispatching various kinds of Nazarick's Garters and Gargantua as the main body of their forces that are approved by her master. She is also commanded to transfer the warning grid of both Nigredo and Pandora's actor to Ainz. After their army arrives at the Great Lake, Albedo, along with the other floor guardians, threatens and intimidates the Lizardmen so that they become part of Nazarick. When she sees what Shaltyr's punishment from Ainz is like, Albedo asks her master for a temporary leave from the room for a minute, only to hit a wall out of pure anger and jealousy before returning shortly thereafter. Albedo then tells Aura that she accidentally bumped into a wall on her way out and damaged it in the process. Although it was her fault she did it, Albedo kindly apologizes to Aura and convinces her to fix the wall. Later, she is angered by the old story of how the opposition in Yggdrasil stole one of Ainzul Gon's territories. She asks her master to allow the guardians like herself to retake it at once before Ainz stops to reason with them that this is all in the past long ago. While divining the enemy's intention, she speculates to Ainz that perhaps the reason why the ones who brainwashed Shaltyr have not appeared to confront Nazarick is because they have yet to be exposed. She thinks Mamon's announcement of the vampire being defeated by a magic item is not completely believable at best, when it would only work well against the people who think sealing crystals are rare items in the world. She reasons that there is likely a chance their enemy has many of these items within their grasp. Permitted by Ainz, she explains her concerns to the other guardians, stating that anyone who knows the sealing crystal's abilities will probably see through Mamon's news immediately, and how they will think that Shaltyr was not defeated by it. She declares that although the enemy may not know if Shaltyr fought with all her strength, anyone with a world item will probably reckon that the vampire and Mamon were of equivalent strength. Therefore, she concludes that the enemy might consider Mamon, a mysterious warrior who recently appeared in Irantal, a threat to them. In addition to that, she judges that the opposition is likely to suspect something suspicious and odd about the link between Shaltyr and Mamon. As the other floor guardians are having trouble understanding Demiurge's explanation, Albedo assists the demon in explaining it to them so that they can better understand Nazarick's plan. To explain Demiurge's idea, she states that pretending to support another country, Ainz and guardians like themselves have an excuse for any action which Nazarick takes. By saying that Nazarick is ordered to do so by that country and the former has no choice but to obey, they can use that to deflect blame from themselves, presuming there is an enemy on their level. She ends Demiurge's explanation with the notion that if the other party does not want an open conflict, they will have no choice but to bear with it. Albedo is awed by Ainz's intellect to make humans seem surprisingly useful within the scope of his supposed plan after she and Demiurge explain it in their master's stead. The search for Hamsuke Arc. Albedo informs Ainz that Narberal Gamma wishes to see him. Learning of the disappearance of Hamsuke from Narberal, Albedo suggests that a search will be conducted in order to locate her, to which Ainz agrees. When Albedo and Shaltir begin to bicker with one another during their search, Ainz orders the two floor guardians to work together on improving their relationship. Eventually, she and Shaltir are able to find Hamsuke on the second floor, but become frightened by Kiyohuko's insect guide riding on top of her head. As Hamsuke approaches the floor guardians, Albedo tells the beast to stop moving, and she is later threatened by Aura and Shaltir. Hence, the beast immediately runs away in terror while she and her fellow floor guardians report back to Ainz that Hamsuke is still alive and well. After fulfilling Ainz's order, Albedo, Shaltir, and Aura have chosen to take a break in Spa Resort Nazarick while relaxing. All seems peaceful until a brief conversation ensues between Albedo and Shaltir regarding the difference in their chest sizes that turns into a conflict among the two. The Two Leaders Arc. While Albedo, Shaltir, and Aura are having their day off on the 6th floor of Nazarick, the Guardian Overseer summons forth her mount, a level 100 War Bicorn Lord for experimentation. She discusses with Aura and Shaltir about its abilities and the needs of various skills and equipment to strengthen it. As Aura recommends that she gives the Bicorn a pet name, she decides to call it Top of the World in reverence to her master Ainz. Upon touching the Bicorn and mounting herself on top of it, she notices something is awfully amiss with her summoned monster. Because the Bicorn is unable to carry her, Albedo has to hear out Aura and Shaltir's claims of the reason behind why she cannot ride it. After a thorough discussion, Albedo discovers, from Shaltir's encyclopedia, that Bicorns can only be ridden by impure maidens. When Shaltir and Aura confront her about this, Albedo sadly reveals that despite being a succubus, she has no experience with men and is still a virgin. She then harshly asks Shaltir about her love life, only for Shaltir to reveal that she has only been with girls. This in turn leads to a very brief catfight between Albedo and Shaltir, who calls out the Guardian Overseer to be sly in using her position and duties as an excuse to have sex with Ainz. She is provoked by the vampire for failing to charm Ainz or win over her master's love by resulting to this. Such talk comes to an end after Albedo is asked by Aura to think of using a different mount other than the Bicorn, which she obliges. With advice from the beast tamer Aura, she decides to modify her battle plans and tactics whenever it involves using her Bicorn in combat. Later, she and the female floor guardians visit the small village Green Hole and meet up with the sous chef there to have a discussion about the new residents like the mandrakes who migrated into Nazarick. She informs them about Ainz's true motives and setup behind Project Utopia, where Nazarick is now in the phase of gathering all kinds of creatures besides plant-type monsters from outside the tomb onto the 6th floor. From here on out, she implores them to try their best in understanding Ainz's intentions from the words their master spout. Outside of Ainz's bedroom, after hearing what Ainz has said to her, Mar, and Sixus, Albedo tackles her master to the ground and plots to rape him on the spot. However, before she can proceed any further on top of Ainz while attempting to strip her master naked, Albedo is restrained by Mar and several 8-edge assassins. Afterwards, she is then given 3 days of solitary confinement. After reaching the Spa Resort Nazarick, she attempts to inappropriately flirt with Ainz and touch him until Cocytus stands in her way to protect their master from the former. Albedo and Shaltir express their wish to follow after their master in the men's bath, but Ainz refuses and sends them to the ladies' bath with a stern reason. She and Shaltir try to search for peepholes to go into the men's bath, but are attacked by the lion golem in response. While she, Shaltir, and Aura are fending off the lion golem, they are promptly assisted by the male floor guardians and Ainz, who enter the woman's bath to assist them. The Dark Heroes Story Arc. During the floor guardians' meeting on what to ask Ainz as a compensation, the guardians are unable to come up with anything at first. Albedo suggests clothing, since the wardrobe she possesses contains only the same style of dresses and numerous lingerie given to her by her creator, Tabula. She conducts the meeting accordingly until Shaltir requests a coupon to sleep with Ainz, throwing the meeting in disarray. This results in the Guardians having to organize an auction for said item as a template. Ainz raises money arc. Albedo is present with her fellow floor guardians at a meeting with their master. During this meeting, she makes a request to him that she and her fellow floor guardians do not require a salary for their work, as they are only doing it out of loyalty. When Albedo begins stating her suggestion to her master, Demiurge abruptly interrupts and states that every suggestion has been rejected. When Ainz gives her gold coins to spend in the human city, she uses them to buy some expensive cloth. Afterwards, she uses the cloth as a material to make a life-size dakimakura of her master and shows it to him. Her item ends up stirring discussion among the floor guardians about it. She then starts venting to Shaltir over the matter of what she does with the object during nightly hours. During another meeting with Ainz, Albedo shows her master a talking Mamon statuette she brought, insisting that she can now talk to it every day. Table Game to Understand Humans Arc. At Ainz's request, Albedo, along with several other floor guardians, are asked to play a table game as an exercise to better understand humans. The Men in the Kingdom Arc. Within Nazarick, Albedo appears to be in her personal room crafting a spherical wool doll of Ainz and playing with her dakimakura. She is then contacted by Ainz to put together a set of reinforcements for Sebas to rescue Toren Ninja Veyron. She questions why Ainz would go to great lengths in having her draft a team to save a human that doesn't connect to the mastermind of the Shaltir incident. Seeing her master's determination to save Tuar due to an oath he swore to her in his name, she vows to severely punish the humans who dared enrage him at the same time she mounts the rescue as ordered. She is commanded to have Demiurge handle the grain transportation. When Ainz's message call is over, Albedo voices her hate in the names of Ainz Ulgon to herself, and wishes that Ainz go by his original name again. She goes on to state that the Great Tomb of Nazarick belongs to her master only, and him alone. She throws the flag of Ainz Ulgon into the corner of the room where it gathers dust while paying her respect to the flag of Momonga that she has hanged in her room's wall. Before Operation Gehenna is commenced by Demiurge, Albedo sternly tells him and the other NPCs that due to Shaltir's, Cocytus's, and now Sebas's mistakes, any further errors from now on might lead to the abilities of the floor guardians themselves coming into question. According to Demiurge, Albedo is standing by in the throne room to keep tabs on Sebas, who is Nazarick's bait to lure out the mastermind who manipulated Shaltir. The Invaders of the Large Tomb Arc. When Demiurge proposes the idea of forming a nation using Nazarick as its basis, Albedo is down with that proposal. She tells Ainz that if they are to make themselves known to the world, Nazarick can deal with problems in an above-board manner. She reasons that they will no longer have any further need to keep sending small amounts of personnel from Nazarick to conduct secret investigations outside the tomb. More so, Albedo dislikes the idea of allowing the Great Tomb of Nazarick, which Ainz presides over, to become part of any other country but his own, which is why Demiurge suggests that Ainz create a nation. Once Ainz returns from the adventurers' campsite around the tomb, she and her master monitor the workers and prepare their deaths by Nazarick's defense systems while excluding foresight, as Ainz plans to test his swordsmanship against them later. While managing the tomb's systems and being cautionary around the Ariadne mechanism, she is instructed to avoid using poison gas traps and instead work with just the traps that involve the POP monsters. She also orders all the other floor guardians apart from herself to gather in the throne room and watch the invasion live with their master Ainz together. She later accompanies Ainz as he confronts and fights Foresight, who have been teleported to the 6th floor amphitheater. She recommends her master end the charade with Foresight and finish them off, considering how merciful Ainz has been towards them until they lie to him about using the name of the 41 Supreme Beings. When Amina warns Ainz that the strongest person in the world will arrive to save them if they do not return to their camp, Albedo believes she is merely spouting meaningless lies. However, upon learning from Archie that the adventurer is Mamon of Darkness, she rescinds her statement and frantically apologizes to Ainz. Now that the intruders are eliminated, Albedo has earned the trust of Ainz to be fully entrusted with the task of Nazarick's defenses in the future if an invasion were to occur again. Considering that her master's top priority is to search for the other 40 supreme beings in the world, she proposes to Ainz the creation of a secret unit led by herself to do the job. Albedo successfully convinces Ainz to give her permission in using Pandora's actor, Rubedo, and other high-level vassals as she sees fit for this expedition, with Ainz believing her. She reasons that they need such squad to help verify the legitimacy and accuracy of the information regarding a supreme being's whereabouts so that enemies like Foresight won't be able to falsify it to their advantage anymore against them. She also reasonably cautions her master to keep the squad a secret from the Guardians and why they should never assist her on this long-term task she made it her duty to do. On the other hand, she lavishes praise for her master after he kindly makes use of what was left over of the Invader Arch's corpse. The Magic Caster of Destroy Arc. Albedo and the Floor Guardians are present with Emperor Jerkniv of the Baharuth Empire, and his Imperial delegation present themselves before Ainz. After the Imperial delegation leaves and Demiurge explains how the Empire is planning to betray Nazarick, Albedo is the second after Sebas to calm the Guardians down, reassuring them that everything is within the scope of their master's plan. She states that if their master Ainz had not created the heroic adventurer Mammon, it would be impossible to rule Irantel peacefully, but by violence and terror. Albedo wishfully expresses her desire to Demiurge that she seeks to meet Renner, which the latter promises her after the Sorcerer Kingdom is created. To decide on a title for her master's position as the ruler of such nation, Albedo suggests addressing Ainz as Supreme King. Despite the proposal, Ainz chooses Kokaitis' suggestion and crowns himself as Sorcerer King, which makes Albedo a little disappointed since he didn't choose her suggestion. After the massacre at Cat's Plains, Albedo accompanies Ainz and his army to Irantel. Albedo then decides to kill a young boy who is disturbing their arrival march, but is stopped by Mammon. Albedo threatens the adventurer Mammon and tells him to be Ainz's enforcer for this city, which the latter has no other choice but to accept for the sake of the people before they continue on their way. The Pleiades Day Arc. Albedo has taken an interest in researching whether the undead can experience strong emotions. Albedo has taken it upon herself, apparently, to experimentally investigate the matter. She gathers various types of undead, mercenaries, monsters, summoned undead, and POP in order to collect various data from all of them. She even includes Yuri in the experiment. These experiments begin with a special experiment just for Shaltir, and it sparks a great uproar between Albedo and Shaltir that soon spirals out of control. In the end, the experiment is terminated with no definite findings. Albedo, for her part in causing an uproar, is punished by cleaning with a mop. The Ruler of Conspiracy Arc. After the annexation of Irantel and its surrounding territory, Albedo has been training undead minions like the Elder Liches created by Ainz to act as administrators and public servants for the Sorcerer Kingdom. It is shown that Albedo and Demiurge have discussed ways to draft and push new laws carefully into the nation without inciting widespread discontent. She and Demiurge consider simply retaining the first edict of the Riastai's Kingdom's laws before then pushing it through by force. She agrees with Demiurge that there is a need to give Ainz as much absolute power as they can enact. On the other hand, she also gives her input and feedback with Ainz on the various suggestions proposed by denizens of Nazarick, such as the creation of an orphanage to help better the Sorcerer Kingdom before implementing them. At the same time, Albedo follows Ainz's orders to limit Nazarick's technologies to only a handful of people who they can trust, and not spread its innovation freely to the Sorcerer Kingdom or beyond. In addition to that, she informs both Aura and Mar that the Sorcerer Kingdom is short on resources and explains why that is so, where they cannot easily incorporate the elves' proposal of cross-dressing. She is permitted by Ainz to arrange a political visitation as the Sorcerer Kingdom's envoy to the Riastai's Kingdom's royal capital. She plans to conduct some talks of negotiations with King Ramposa III. Before leaving the Sorcerer Kingdom to head to Riastai's, Albedo hands control of Nazarick and Irantel to Pandora's actor for the first time while she is away. Since the shapeshifter won't assume the role of Mammon during that existing time frame, she makes it her plan to have the adventurer group Darkness accept a request and be sent abroad for reconnaissance. Leaving the courtyard of Ainz's residence, she departs for Riastai's via carriages using the 20 Death Cavaliers summoned by her master. The purpose of Albedo's visit to the royal capital is to open formal relations with the Riastai's kingdom. Upon arriving at Riastai's, she and Prince Zanak respectfully greet each other with an introduction to their names and respective positions. Albedo is escorted by Prince Zanak to Rolenti Castle. Before diplomatic negotiation between the two nations begin, she settles down in the suites within the palace for the night. The following day, Albedo and Zanak tour the theaters to watch the dances and hold the royal family's dinner party at night, where all the nobles of the kingdom will be invited. There, Albedo meets King Ramposa III and Princess Renner, whom she converses with, before being greeted by a minor noble called Philip Dayton Lair Montsterrat, who is invited by Philip to go to the ball with him, leaving the noble to escort her on the way there. After talking with the other nobles, Albedo leaves Philip's side and is escorted away by her associate Hilmith Signeus. Upon leaving the ballroom, she vents her frustration at the noble Philip and how he has inappropriately touched her in places that are supposed to be reserved for Ainz. After being guided to a specific room managed by the Eight Fingers, she commands the submissive executives to begin the transportation of resources to the Sorcerer Kingdom. All the while, she explains to them how they're expected to do it, including the preparation for setting up a casus belli to justify their planned invasion against the Reistized Kingdom in the future. Along the way, she reminds them to be on the lookout for a powerful mind control item and regularly record findings about it in parchments before sending them to her. Later, after laying out the foundation for her personal objectives, she meets up with Princess Renner in private. She gives Renner a reward from Ainz, along with another item bestowed upon her, reminding the girl to finish making preparations before the Sorcerer Kingdom invades the Reistized Kingdom. With the matter settled for now, she initiates a girl talk with the princess about their respective lover thereafter. Later on, she informs Demiurge about the Baharuth Empire wanting to become a vassal state under the Sorcerer Kingdom. Under Ainz's order, she proceeds to work together with Demiurge on drafting a plan where they have to decide how to handle the vassalage of the Empire. Ainz's Ambition Arc. Albedo, hearing that Ainz Ulgone wishes to take a vacation as he wants to provide an example to his subjects, misunderstands and assumes that he wishes to be serviced by the entire maiden butler staff. She calls forth not only the homunculus maids, but Pestonia Shortcake Wanko, manservant, and even the Pleiades to Ainz's quarters. Since Albedo does not know how many maids he will need to help her master out during his vacation, she feels it prudent to have everyone take part. Nazarick Mythology Arc. Albedo attends a meeting to create a mythology of her master in order to solidify his hold over the masses. In her myth story, the world was abandoned by the gods and nearly destroyed with the humans facing extinction. Albedo integrates herself in the creation myth of how she remained loyal to the gods, only to be punished by those around her. Ainz is rendered as the hero who saves her and takes her as his bride. Ainz purifies the world and the two return to Earth and marry, which marks the beginning of this world. After she finishes, Albedo thinks her myth praiseworthy. However, the Floor Guardians point out some holes, as they're not comfortable with the ideas that suggest all of humanity are Ainz's descendants. The Paladin of the Holy Kingdom Arc. Albedo, now acting as Prime Minister of the Sorcerer Kingdom, greets the representatives of the Holy Kingdom Liberation Army when they seek an audience with Ainz Ulgone. Before guiding them to the audience hall where the Sorcerer King is at, she tells the envoys that the Sorcerer King has also shown deep concerns over the developments within the Holy Kingdom. She allows the envoys to keep their weapons equipped, telling them that this is to establish trust between the two nations and keep the latter at ease while being surrounded by undead creatures. In the presence of the Sorcerer King, she provides time estimations of the Sorcerer Kingdom's ability to mobilize its forces to assist the Holy Kingdom against Jaldabaoth. She suggests that it will take around a period of 5 years at most, which is the safest option to choose without incurring any problem on the Sorcerer Kingdom's end. She advises Ainz that assisting the Holy Kingdom within a matter of 3 years instead of 5 will only end up leading to civil unrest in the Sorcerer Kingdom. Nevertheless, Albedo is ordered by her master to accelerate the plan to assist the Holy Kingdom further under 2 years' time as a goal. Once the meeting with Ainz is over, Albedo escorts the envoys outside the audience hall and have their soldiers, except Remedios Custodio, retrieve their weapons. Later on, she and Demiurge are seen together in a log cabin during a meeting with Ainz while accompanied by Lupus Regina Beta. When her master begins questioning his own actions to both Albedo and Demiurge, the Guardian Overseer states that she has no problem with what her master does or the changes he has made with the original plan until now. She is informed by Ainz that almost none of the Floor Guardians, including herself, will be put to the test except for Demiurge, who is under the order to adapt to her master's scheme. However, as Ainz suggests faking his death during his battle with Jaldabaoth, this leaves Albedo utterly shocked and upset at the idea of allowing this to happen. When Demiurge accepts such an idea from Ainz, it angers Albedo to the point that she inquires whether he will agree with the modified plan if his creator Olbert Elaine Old was the one who proposed it instead of their master. The exchange of words between the two gets more tense and continues to be so until it's immediately gone upon Ainz' shout over them. When asked about her opinion, Albedo reasons that if Ainz were to ever die, she would immediately subject the person who dared disrespect her master to all the suffering in this world and resurrect him. She feels that Demiurge is being too lenient with merely gathering information on her master's killer. She suggests capturing the perpetrator with all the strength Nazarick can bring to bear, and then torment them to the point where their ego breaks down. Regarding a different matter brought up by her master, Albedo is ordered by Ainz to freeze all progress on the giant statue of Ainz Gon that is currently in planning, which she obliges to do. To prepare Ainz' battle, Albedo orders the Pleiades, except Narborough Gamma and Aureole Omega, to temporarily hand over their main equipment to the Eric String Orchestra. She instructs a group of doppelgangers to transform into Yuri Alpha, Solution Epsilon, Lupus Regina Beta, and Toma Vasilis Zeta, and CZ2128 Delta while using their respective set of equipment. She is hoping to have these demon maids assist Jaldabaoth in winning against her master. Although Aureole Omega is not on the battlefield with the Doppel Pleiades, Albedo still commands her to buff them ahead of time before they set off to fight Ainz. On the other hand, as the new plan is set forth by their master, Doppel Yuri tells Ainz about a condition insisted by Albedo so she can fully support his plan. Particularly, if Ainz gets defeated by Jaldabaoth and his demon maids in battle, he will not be allowed to leave the Great Tomb of Nazarick for the coming year. Furthermore, she insists that he will have to work hard within Nazarick with herself in the same room as her master. Unfortunately, Albedo's plea to have Ainz stay back in Nazarick with her does not come to pass, as the latter is able to vanquish Jaldabaoth. The Witch of the Falling Kingdom Arc. While quickly skimming through the documents in her office regarding internal affairs and human resources of Nazarick and the Sorcerer Kingdom, Albedo comes across a complicated problem from one of the reports that's titled, regarding the problems faced by the team supporting the Holy Kingdom's grain management. After noticing this, Albedo thinks of discussing the matter with Demiurge, who she presumes is deeply linked to the problem. As a result, Albedo decides to inform her maid subordinate that she will be holding an emergency meeting on the 7th floor of Nazarick first to discuss private matters with Demiurge about it. Later on, she and her fellow floor guardians meet up on the 10th floor of Nazarick audience room and wait on standby for Ainz' return. Once the Overlord arrives, Albedo begins explaining to her master about what has happened to the Sorcerer Kingdom's trade caravan of grains. She has Shaltir bring Hilma Signius to their meeting as a witness who can answer Ainz' questions and concerns. Albedo suggests giving the witness a severe punishment, but is denied by Ainz after he interrogates Hilma. Although Albedo claims that it's only natural for the superior to take the fall for their subordinate, Ainz counters her argument by stating that both he and Albedo will have also been responsible for Hilma and this incident to occur. In that regard, her master gives Hilma a punishment that is far from severe than what she suggested. In the end, Albedo and the rest of the floor guardians approve their master's reasoning for giving out his punishment in that matter. Once that matter is concluded, discussion about Philip resumes where it left off while Albedo explains their strategy for the fall of the Reistized Kingdom. When Ainz states that maybe Philip did what he did without first thinking through about the consequence of his actions beforehand, Albedo doubts that to be the case. She thinks that someone like Philip couldn't have been this stupid to take action in such a manner as attacking their country's caravan. However, Demiurge tries reasoning with Albedo out of support for his master's opinion that it could have been the case, as Philip is an idiot who makes irrational decisions. Later, Albedo pays a visit to the Reistized Kingdom, traveling to the capital city in order to have a political meeting with King Ramposa III. She informs Ramposa that her country's grain caravan, which was intended to be humanitarian aid to the Holy Kingdom, has been robbed by one of his own countrymen. When giving Ramposa suggestions, like offering the head of the person responsible, she states that the Sorcerer Kingdom will not change their policies towards this matter. After this, Albedo formally declares war between their two nations, stating that the Sorcerer Kingdom will deploy their troops a month from now at noon. She warns Ramposa that if he is to march his troops towards Erantal, which is within the Sorcerer Kingdom's borders, then the latter will no longer follow that plan. In addition, she relays the Sorcerer King's message to Ramposa of not using his grand magic in this war. A month later, after the Sorcerer Kingdom's declaration of war against the Reistized Kingdom, Albedo contributes to the campaign by threatening a portion of the enemy nation's nobility into rebelling. Because of this, her work is commended by Ainz during a meeting with the floor guardians in Nazarick. While overseeing the battle with her master and fellow floor guardians, she tells her colleagues about the adventurer team Red Drop, thanks to intel from Sebas, Demiurge, and their corroborators. She explains it to them that Red Drop's presence in the northern end of the Reassize Kingdom is part of their master's ploy to lure out one of these adventurers with insufficient troops deployed into the city of Noril. She elaborates how the Red Drop adventurer must have viewed the amount of troops as easily defeatable, and enough to conquer the city without feeling the need to bring their companions along for the fight. When asked by Ainz to explain how credible their intel about Red Drop appearing in the city of Noril is, Albedo apologizes and says that it was a surface-level deduction based on their foe wearing an adamantite adventurer plate with their signature color. Later on, she is present with Ainz and his 10,000 undead army outside of the Reassize capital. According to Ainz, she is shown to have been working hard at building the front. Shortly after doing her job, she returns back to the tent with Cocytus and informs Ainz that the humans have sent an envoy their way for an audience. She is then asked by Ainz to prepare a reception and receptive drinks for his guest. However, Albedo suggests that he turn down the envoy's request if it is not in any ways related to declaring the start of the battle. At the same time, she advises her master to start the battle now as it is, while her fellow floor guardian Cocytus disagrees with the idea. Albedo can't help but sneer at Cocytus' reasoning, stating that rumors will not spread if the ones responsible for it are killed off through this battle. However, when Ainz reasons that they can still spread rumors using magical means, Albedo immediately offers up an apology to her master shortly thereafter. When Ainz says he is going to talk alone with the envoy, she shows her concern whether his action was for the best. Nonetheless, she is reassured by her master that he has aura with a world item to protect him if something bad happens to him. After Ainz returns from his meeting with King Zanak, Albedo is seen conducting the final inspection of their army's formations. However, Albedo immediately stops what she is doing to report to Ainz that there is a commotion going on at the enemy's camp. Under Ainz's orders, she guides 10 noblemen from the enemy's side to their camp as envoys. Not long after, she receives Zanak's head from her master and is ordered to give the dead king a proper burial. Afterwards, she is then ordered by Ainz to send the envoys and their families over to Nurinus Painkill so that the area garden can take care of them. Once the battle begins, Albedo, while protecting her master, is soon ordered to engage Azuth Aindra and his powered suit after he tries to deal damage to Ainz at his camp. Using her abilities, she pursues the adventurer in the skies. After traveling some distance from her camp, she realizes that he is leading her away on purpose. Stopping herself, she decides to wait for what kind of actions her opponent will take. Azuth then chooses to attack her with his heavy machine gun. Though she expects her opponent to be difficult, she finds him lacking in strength and quickly turns the battle in her favor. However, after sensing that Ainz will go and is in trouble, she quickly returns to his side and drives away his challenger, Riku Agania, just as he is about to kill the former. After successfully driving him away, the two then teleport to Nazarick for safety. The two arrive on the 9th floor, where they are greeted by Ainz, Demiurge, and Shaltir. The trio had been observing the battle that took place and are eager to learn from Pandora's actor and Albedo's comments on their opponent, Riku. While Pandora's actor views Riku as a tank whose level is around 90, Albedo disagrees with him on that analysis. For her opinion, as a tank, she does not believe him to be that strong, estimating Riku to be around level 80 or so. Her estimation of Riku is also not the same as Shaltir, who believes he is around level 85. Since the three are unsure of Riku's exact level, the meeting turns to the area guardian's conversations with Riku, from which she hears about how he handled his performance as Ainz. Albedo expresses her annoyance at Pandora's actor kneeling before the enemy to lower Riku's guard as the Sorcerer King, calling it out of line and disrespectful to their master. However, Ainz finds it to be an acceptable performance from Pandora's actor, while letting the matter drop entirely. Due to the lack of concrete information of Riku's identity, Ainz believes that the next time they meet, he will allow himself to be defeated by the other to gain more information. The other Guardians, including Albedo, are apprehensive of putting Ainz in harm's way, even if it is a logical step. Albedo even urges her master to stay within the dungeon and limit his excursions. Albedo admits that if she was in Riku's shoes when fighting Pandora's actor, she would have killed him immediately if he was just a regular civilian. However, if Riku's opponent was king of a nation, Albedo did consider capturing them for intel while likely getting careless about it. On the identity of Riku Agania, She iterates that based on Pandora's actor's dialogue with the warrior, he could either be a member of the 13 Heroes or the Platinum Dragon Lord. Ainz states the possibility that this could be a lie on the enemy's part. However, to sniff out for information of this Riku, Ainz decides that once the Reistai's kingdom is taken care of, the Sorcerer Kingdom will turn their attention to the Council State. The main purpose will be to send envoys to the Council State to greet the heads of state, and sarcastically scoff at the Platinum Dragon Lord to determine if he is Riku. The missive for this plan will be handled by Albedo. Just as the meeting is about to end, Shaltir raises a question on whether Ainz's offer to Riku Agania to join as a vassal is sincere. Ainz admits that the offer is a sham, as he is unsure if he can reign in a dangerous individual. Riku's death, however, will secure his position as the ruler of the world. Though Albedo believes it would be a waste to kill him and that they should hold off on Riku's elimination and see if they can convert him, at least until they obtain more information. She manages to get Ainz's approval for this plan, and he allows her to take the necessary steps for its success. Later on, she and Demiurge accompany Ainz to the royal capital, where they head towards Rolente Castle. Upon stepping foot in the castle, she and Ainz proceed to enter the throne room, where Renner and Ramposa III await them. She is by Ainz's side as he sits upon the throne while watching Renner kill her father. She later watches as Ainz fights and kills Climb. After Reistai's is conquered, she returns to Nazarick with Renner, thanking the girl for showing everyone the extent of her capabilities. Through the fall of the Reistai's kingdom, Albedo acknowledges that both she and Demiurge have a full grasp on their capabilities thanks to the operation's success. Respecting Renner's exceptional capabilities, Albedo decides to put the girl under her command and working for Nazarick. All the while, she awards Renner another fallen seed for her to use on Climb after he recovers his strength from being resurrected. Before parting ways with the girl, Albedo tells Renner that she has only earned this gift through her actions and the trust that has been built up between them, rather than the latter's inherent value as a hostage. Albedo later joins her master outside the former royal palace to address the surviving nobles gathered by the turncoat, Marcus Raven. She listens to her master, informing them of their force's progress and recall after eliminating all the territories to the west and south. Later, she listens to a few proposals made by Marcus Raven and summons Gurren to burn the capital. Later, Albedo goes to the monster at Fief, where she locates Philip, the man who caused the fall of the Reistai's kingdom. When he sees her, the noble believes that she came to personally reward him for his efforts in allowing it to be possible. The sheer stupidity of the man stuns her, and then she presents him with a box containing the heads of his fellow barons who orchestrated the raid on the Sorcerer Kingdom's caravan. She then reveals her hatred and contempt for the man. When he attempts to escape, she grabs him and drags him outside his home, where she shows him the fate of his family, servants, and serfs, who have all been impaled on stakes surrounding the mansion. She tells him that she considered letting the villagers execute him themselves, but believes that that would have been boring. Thus, she decides to use him to test out some intel-gathering torture methods. That way, she can fulfill Philip's late father's request, to ensure that his son suffers as much as he and the villagers did due to Philip's incompetence. The current situation of various people, a prologue arc. Albedo later sends an invite to Emperor Jerkniv to attend a welcoming ceremony in the Sorcerer Kingdom for the Faceless One from the Roble Holy Kingdom. Did you enjoy our video? Be sure to check out these other great videos from the Amagi, and make sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.